Good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another session of DNI Pe Charcha brought to you by India Diversity Forum. I, Shubhangi Joshi, welcome you to this DNI Pe Charcha September edition. Establishing an equitable and inclusive culture comes with numerous challenges, with tokenism being the most prevalent. Organizations usually end up creating dashboards and metrics in the name of DEI. In this session, you will learn how to put inclusion and belonging at the center of your DEI goals, moving beyond tracking diversity percentages and ratios. To discuss such an interesting topic, India Diversity Forum brings to you this exclusive panel discussion on the topic, Make a Commitment to Creating DNI a Strategic Priority, Going Beyond Numbers. To begin this charcha, I would like to welcome our esteemed speakers for the session. Mr. Sumitabh Bhatnagar, Corporate HR Head, VFS Global. Madhura Dasgupta, Founder, Aspire for Her. Renu Rohtagi, Director of HR and Communication, Air Liquid. Rakhi Chauhan, Senior Manager, DEI, Employee Experience and Engagements, Emphasis. And our moderator for the session, Preeti Ahuja, Head of People, India Peak. Thank you to all the speakers for accepting the invitation and being a part of this panel discussion. Preeti, all over to you now.
Thank you, Shubhangi, and thank you, IDF team. Once again, a very warm welcome to all the panelists here, audience here today. It's a pleasure to be here. We will start with a brief background on the topic, and then we will get our esteemed speaker viewpoints and also address audience question today. We understand that the long-term success and effectiveness of a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative will be determined by an organization's ability to create an environment in which each employee is treated equally and feel free to perform to the best of their ability. Companies have increasingly begun to regard inclusion and diversity as a source of competitive advantage and specifically as a key enabler of growth. Yet, progress on diversification initiatives has been slow, and companies are still uncertain about how they can most effectively use diversity and inclusion to support their growth and value creation. An important potential benefit of having a diverse workforce is the ability to make higher quality decisions in a diverse work team. People will have different opinions and perspective. So let's start our today's panel discussion with our first panelist. My question to you, Rakhi, is most of the organizations think of diversity in terms of demographics. Do you think we need to redefine what we mean by diversity? Example, experiences, perspectives, thoughts, diverse opinions. Over to you, Rakhi.
Yeah, thanks so much, Preeti, and of course, IDF for this platform. And thanks for inviting me, firstly. Just to, just say that, when we think of diversity, what usually comes to our mind is, the basic categorization, which is, the gender or the race or the age or the sexual orientation. But of course, I would say diversity does go beyond demographic data, and it does cover, a lot of other things like the experiences employees bring, the intelligence, their thought processes, and the cognitive functions. So for us at Emphasis, we do focus, in addition to the gender and the cultural diversity, cognitive and emotional diversity is really important. When we talk about cognitive diversity, we're saying that it reflects the different ways people think, the way they solve problems, they understand complexities and learn, right? So I think our thinking is impacted by various things like our culture, our backgrounds, our experiences, and of course, our own personalities. This is, of course, diversity of thought, right? And when I think of it, a diverse group of employees with no diversity in their thoughts and beliefs is just going to be an illusion of diversity, right? So it's very important to have a group of employees or, a team that is completely diverse, not just, like I said, the normal demographical diversity, but also the cognitive, the thinking aspect is very important because that brings in a great mix and obviously leads to greater innovation and higher performance. Another thing I think is important when we talk about, cognitive diversity is leaders play a very important role, in ensuring that, their teams are diverse, right? And when I'm again talking about diverse, I'm saying, cognitive diversity as well. Because that helps in better decision making. It enables people, to be more, creative with the way they think and the way they solve problems. Also, I think the other aspect that comes in is the richness of experiences that people bring along. So, when we talk about a diversity of experience, we're talking about people with, different experiences in the industry, the roles they've played, the functions, and all of that together, right? The companies that they've worked with. So these are going to be very crucial when we talk about diverse teams, and it's important for us to understand that cognitive diversity and diversity of experience is very important as well. Of course, when we talk about them, it is difficult to identify, right? Because you cannot really see them. It's obviously not related to any mandatory compliance. But I think when we look at it, if we are looking at cognitive and a diversity of experience, it's going to definitely, build stronger teams. And it's going to be that invisible layer that helps better performance in the teams. So at Emphasis, we are definitely looking at, increasing the way we communicate on these various DEI terminologies, right? We're trying to, decode all these heavy terms with our employees in order for them to understand what these really mean, for managers to understand them, and also, get into the race, right? We want them to be part of what we are saying. And, that's what we're trying to do by over communicating all of this to them, and hoping that we build, a strong, inclusive culture.
Great points, Raki. And you have bring about cognitive diversity. You have also talked about diversity of experience. These are the great inputs, as well as like you talk about diversity at the same time. You have also like brought about inclusive culture and the belongingness, how you are driving in Emphasis. That's great inputs. And thank you for sharing your insights here. Moving on to next panelist, Renu. Research shows that diverse teams tend to make higher quality decisions, ethnic diversity and creativity in small groups. Therefore, having a diverse workforce may have a different impact on a company's bottom line by increasing creativity in decision making. As a result of all these potential benefits, companies that manage diversity more effectively tend to outperform others. So my question to you, Renu, is would be keen to know your thoughts on how critical is inclusion in shaping a diverse and inclusive culture? Over to you, Renu.
Thank you, Preeti, and thank you once again to the Diversity Forum for giving this opportunity. I will take from Raki what she has expressed, and I'm very happy that she's closed the notes with the inclusion. I'm a very firm believer of inclusion. It's a very, very broad topic, which entails everything, starting from person aspect, like belongingness, uniqueness, and authenticity. And from an organization aspect, when we look at it, it's more towards collaboration, fairness, and psychological safety, which we all of us after the COVID has really, really got impacted and have started to feel, psychological safety meaning creating a culture where everyone can speak up and bring their own true self. and for which the organization needs to embrace that. As an organization, I'm just trying to give an introspection to the participants here, that as an organization, we need to have a very, very deep sense of introspection about what are the barriers to inclusion. How can everyone can bring a diverse voices? How can we really truly understand that what really employees need to be felt included in the system or in the organization? And how, as an organization, we can create a sense of belonging that our organization for us, Few of the initiatives, or I would say practices in AIDIC in India, we firmly committed towards the group objective, and our key objective is diversity and inclusion. For us, inclusion starts from the top. If diversity is not a company goal, believe me, it won't happen. And it is very important to have a very, very healthy business begins when we have a culture where we are welcoming and demonstrating through the leaders. I'll just share you a very small instance that we have started in each of our meeting, our inclusion movement, which itself reflects that, state of being included, whether it's a happy moment or a sad moment, everyone needs to share that, to start with that. Another aspect I would like to highlight is that we need to really focus on the inclusive recruitment strategies. Take a closer look at the recruitment tactics, what we are applying. Are we really approaching hiring with the goal of facilitating diversity and inclusion, making inclusive, recruitment as an integral part of the company? Looking at the role which is unconventional can be given to the right talent to make it more felt as an inclusive. Third aspect I would like to emphasize here is that generate the platforms of connects. Start to provide the feedback, whether it could be an employee survey, it's an engagement survey, it's your all hand meets, it's your informal corridor coffee sessions with people, general chit chat, or it could be just sharing of feedback in a form of an open dialogue. And also taking and revisiting, your policies and programs to create more tolerant and a diverse environment. There is always something that, we can be improved upon. And this is only possible when the company will prioritize, just to take actions on the feedback, what they have received. And believe me, this will thrive employees. They will start to feel belonging when they start to feel that the actions are coming into an, the feedback is coming into an action. Very important point, like I started with, and it's very key for us, providing a safe spaces for employees. We need to take the responsibility to go the extra mile to consider the safety of the employees. I mean to say psychological safety, especially those who are coming from a very, very marginalized group. We have to create the inclusive spaces, and that can be created simply by spending time with people, just spending, interacting, exchanging discussions with people. And that can only happen when you start involving them, considering them, hosting some lunches, take them some informal events where employees will start to have a casual connect, build network, and will start to feel safe. And I'm sure this will start to spark the conversations, start to open up the conversations. One more thing which we would like to really highlight, and we have started to experiment, is promote and reward the creativity and innovation. Foster the environment where the employee have the freedom to stimulate the creativity within the employer to challenge the status quo and unlock their potential. I think this is another factor we will really give and embrace the employees on the inclusion. Last but not least, speak up for the behaviors which we feel could exclude colleagues, So if we are seeing the behavior that makes colleagues feel excluded in the group, speak up, discuss, even if it is a very, very minor behavior. At the same time, we need to be reflective for ourselves. We should be open to our colleagues to take our feedback for my own behavior. Am I really demonstrating inclusion in my own behavior? So without taking much of your time, I just would like to share my perspective. I think as an organization, inclusion is more than an initiative. It's business imperative. It's an organization imperative. When people do not have to worry about how they look, who they love, who they believe in, and they can reach out and they will demonstrate to the full potential. And this is where I feel it's a definition of inclusion. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful input, Renu. And there are a lot of key takeaways. What I hear from your highlights here, it's definitely like fairness, collaboration, authenticity, and psychological safety makes inclusive culture. And you also talked about how it starts. So inclusion definitely start from top, and then obviously it has to percolate it down to entire organization. But yes, leaders plays an important role. And really like the inclusion moment which you have shared, and that's a very key takeaway for us. And definitely, yes, every time, like if you provide action on people's feedback, obviously they look forward that, yes, something is happening in the organization. And it's a great inputs, Renu. And thank you so much for sharing again the practical examples from your organization. And I see that our conversation is going on a very right direction. We started with diversity. Now we move to inclusion. My next question goes to Madhura. It's encouraging to see that progress is being made in increasing diversity on corporate boards, especially when it comes to women directors. A visible commitment to diversity and inclusion in the boardroom speaks volumes to your employees and customers. Women hold 17.1% of the board seats in India, finds by Deloitte report. Globally, there has been an increased focus on legislation to increase women representation in corporate boards. In the latest, the state of California has made it mandatory for all publicly traded companies to have at least one female director by 2020. We do not have to look overseas. For example, in India, SEBI made it mandatory for every company to have at least one women director. So my question to Madhura is, in your opinion, how strategic is it to bring diversity in the board? What would be your value proposition to this? Would like to hear your story as well, Madhura. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Preeti. And it's not every day that I get to sit in on a panel with folks who are crusaders of diversity, so to say. So great having Rakhi, Renu, and Sumita here on this panel. I actually I was part of that side till a few years ago, but now I am on the other side, and I'm actually trying to get 1 million women in the workforce by 2025 through my organization, Aspire for Her. And we're doing that every day through the power of communities and networks. So I was a banker for 25 years. But the last 2.5 years of my life have been the most fascinating and the most fulfilling part of my entire career. In 2020, I turned 50, and I thought I needed to do something different. And I was looking at gender data emanating from our country, and I realized that India is absolutely at the bottom in terms of economic participation of women. That made me delve a little deeper. And I realized that women's workforce participation has been regressing, has been declining for the past 15 years. And that made me feel very sad, because the women that I saw in India were among the best and the brightest in the world. And they didn't deserve to be at the bottom. And I thought someone needs to do something to solve this problem and to unleash the economic potential of what McKinsey calls a $1 trillion opportunity. And I thought that someone could be me, which is the reason why Aspire for Her was born. So today, we motivate women to enter and stay in the workforce. We ensure that we create a generation of financially independent women by creating a community, by creating multiple networks within the community, so that they motivate each other, connect with each other, and they elevate each other, finding creative solutions to problems collectively. So that's what we do at Aspire for Her. We work with many organizations who are equally passionate about the work that we do around diversity. And the board's problem that you mentioned, Preeti, is but the tip of the pyramid. But if we don't fix the bottom of the pyramid, the tip can never be fixed. So we work across all levels. We start with women in schools, girls in schools, move on to women in colleges, look at various special interest areas like technology roles. We work with Amazon, Google, we work with Standard Chartered, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, a whole lot of organizations which are very, very keen to walk the mile with us on this path. And I'm so happy that I actually bumped into Raki's team a few weeks ago and therefore I know that Emphasis is doing such amazing work in this space when we tried to get a bunch of returnees into organizations that were looking for great talent in that segment. We have a lot of returning women in our platform, and they're all looking for the right roles, for the right organizations to welcome them. Organizations are looking for them, but the twain often doesn't meet. We play the role of that bridge. So this is what we do, Preeti, and Women in Boards is a small manifestation. What SEBI has done is a small initiative to make this work. And is it 100% successful? No, there's still a lot of work to be done. Interestingly, the next community that we launch next month actually is around women leaders. Women who are CEOs, CXOs, and are board ready. And the cohort-based course that we will do as a part of that will be, around women in boards. So as we speak, the last call that I had was really around designing the curriculum and designing an entirely different kind of intervention so that women aspire for board positions and they're also ready to take on positions of responsibility like that. So this is with the US Consulate, and we're very proud to be thinking of doing the programs, in some of them physically in the US Consulate itself, with the Consul General also being present. So that's a little bit about us and what we do. And thank you for the question, Preeti. It's indeed great to be in an August panel like this.
Thank you, Madhura, and thank you so much for sharing your journey. And it also, like you talked about how you started, it's generally taking first step, and you already took that step now. And you are working for, I'll say, entire society and for entire country to have women for force in the right place. Even from your experience, what I see, when women return from a break to again a corporate world, it's a lot of challenges they face during that time. But having a support from a women leader, again, it gives a lot of, motivation, or there's someone at the back who is guiding you as a coach. So that's definitely required. And also, very happy to hear about your new launch of women leadership, the leaders, and would be happy to know more about once it's live to get more information. Thank you, Madhura, for sharing your thoughts. So moving on to Sumitabh. McKinsey research confirms that gender, ethnic, and cultural diversity, particularly within executive teams, continue to be correlated to financial performance across multiple countries worldwide. Based on their report, more diverse companies are better able to attract top talent, to improve their customer orientation, employee satisfaction, and decision-making, and to secure their license to operate, all which we believe continue to be relevant. So my next question to you, Sumitabh, is how does diversity, equity, and inclusion contribute to the overall organization goals? In your organization, what approach have you taken to implement diversity, equity, and inclusion, top down or bottom up, and why?
Thank you, Preeti. That's a very interesting question, and yes, very relevant to VFS, because we are right now present in around 134 countries. And we have approximately 110 nationalities working with us in our organization at this point of time. And I'm very glad to share that our gender ratio is quite healthy, where we have 50% women colleagues and around 48% male colleagues across the globe. And in quite a few of the countries, we almost are touching 60 to 70% women colleagues in few of the regions. However, this is again for us, looking from a global perspective, we face quite a lot of different challenges. The one of the key challenge for us is, how do we have a uniform policy across the globe? Whereas while ensuring that we are relevant in each of the regions and the cultures and the expectations of the colleagues who are in different countries. So that becomes a key, excuse me, that becomes a key challenge for us in terms of maintain that balance or equilibrium between the corporate governance vis-a-vis the local expectations. Since we are present in Americas, in Europe, in Russia and CIS, China, Africa, so everywhere there is a different expectation and a different understanding about diversity and gender neutrality, and that's where we need to balance. However, we have come up with quite a lot of initiatives which are central to ensure that we don't lose our focus. Our leadership team is very clear that this is a direction which we need to take, and we ensure that it gets actually incorporated in the MBOs of the top leaders in our organization, and actually gets evaluated in terms of the ratios and in terms of the hirings. There are specific target given so that we maintain this kind of a diversity in our organization. So starting from, at the beginning of the year, all the top leaders in the company are given specific targets depending upon the diversity ratios in their regions. In terms of recruitment itself, we are monitoring on and specifically at the management level, because that's where we don't have such a healthy diversity ratio, that what kind of hirings are happening and whether these hirings are diversity hirings. And if they are not diversity hirings, then let's say a leader has to justify that why that hiring is not a diversity hiring in the team. So we are using a very affirmative approach in terms of ensuring that the diversity numbers go up in the organization. Then in terms of internal processes, whether it is talent management, whether it is succession planning, whether it is compensation management, or let's say our performance and rewards and recognition, we have specific targets. We have specific strategies in each of the areas to ensure that we encourage diversity. Of course, it has to be merit-based. It is not that just encouraging diversity for the sake of diversity, but it has to be merit-based. And I can also share this with you that quite a lot of top leaders, the country leads or the regional leads are diversity colleagues in the organization. And so there are a number of minor or smaller initiatives each region also takes. And somewhere, it's not only the gender diversity, which is the main thing. So there can be other kinds of diversities which we need to encourage. So the focuses are given on those areas also. So as a global organization, it's an interesting mix of what works in which region, which country, and which location, which is very critical for us. And as an organization, we are very sharply focused, both from a long-term and a strategic perspective, as well as from a immediate term and a tactical perspective in terms of the regional, local, and cultural nuances also. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumitabh. And after your insight, it's looked like nothing is impossible with your gender ratio, which you have shared. And having a clear goal is very much required. And very, very key takeaways from the conversation, that having uniform policies across the globe, which again helps to have, one is diversity, but again, inclusiveness and belongingness at each level. And leaders again plays an important role in driving those initiatives. So it again start from top, that having KPI set for each leaders, and you mentioned it, even in your each function having a set targets, and that is amazingly to hear about you and your organization. Thank you, Sumita, for sharing the experience and your company insight. And it has been wonderful conversations, and I think even the audience has got a lot of takeaways from this conversation, and we will address their question in a few minutes. But just to summarize our conversation, companies around the globe have talked the talk around diversity, equity, and inclusion for years, but recent societal events have propelled more companies to make D&I a top priority. The renewed and reimagined efforts are at the fore of company goals and employee expectations, with much of the efforts rightly focused on inclusion and belonging. Shubhangi, if we have got audience questions, so we can take it right now. Over to you, Shubhangi.
Yes, Preeti. I think we have question. Let me just check once. We do not have any questions from the audiences.
Thank you, Shubhangi.
Thank you so much. This was an insightful discussion, and from learning about some of leading best practices to increasing our knowledge on the subject, I'm confident that the DNI leaders as well as the students who joined us today have multiple takeaways from this Charcha. We hope this session and the examples shared by the speakers in this session inspire other corporates to make workplaces more inclusive in the true sense. Before we end this session, we are happy to announce India Diversity Forum is coming up with its second virtual annual edition of India Diversity Job Fair. This job fair is scheduled on 28th and 29th of October. This is a virtual event. If anyone would like to be a part of this event as a speaker or any of the member is looking to hire diversity candidates, then you can reach out to me or email us at enquire@indiadiversityforum.org. On behalf of Team IDF, I would like to thank our speakers for their great insights and this thought-provoking discussion. I would also like to thank our audience for keeping this session interactive and spending time out of their busy schedules to be here with us. We will be back next month with yet another DNI Pe Charcha, exploring the various nuances of DNI in the Indian context. We will be back with DNI experts, industry leaders, and more. Until then, thank you and keep safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.